What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another brand new Division 2 video. In today's video, I want to showcase my M1A raw damage build that I've been working on for maybe 2.5 to 3 weeks now, and I finally got it where I wanted. It's pretty good. There is a little bit of room for improvement still, but for the most part, this is pretty much the main build that I was actually going for. So hopefully you guys do enjoy the video. If you guys do, make sure you guys drop a like on the subscribe channel if you guys are new. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. So really quick, I just want to give you guys an overall gist of what the point of this actual build is. So if you guys look right below the Shea Tech level at 67 and you see all of the attribute colors, you guys can see that I have 6 main reds, which means I have a red core stat for every single one of my pieces for the main core stat, and then I have 13 more red secondary attribute stats for all of my gear, and the most that you can get is 15, so that means that I'm only missing 2, which is the reason why you see 2 of the blue attributes for the gloves and the knee pads. And obviously the whole point of this build is to stack as much headshot damage, as much raw damage for weapons, and also crit, meaning crit hit damage and crit hit chance as well, and just getting as much as you possibly can, which is the whole point of this build. So moving on to the weapons, first off we have the Baker's Dozen. Now really quickly, I will say if you don't have the Baker's Dozen, meaning that you're not a high enough level to have this yet, which is 65 or 66 I believe. I'm 67, so I obviously have it. If you don't have the Baker's Dozen, just using a regular classic M1A like this one is perfectly fine. I had Optimus on mine with max rifle damage. This was the gun that I was using before I got the Baker's Dozen, so this one will do perfectly fine if you guys do not have Baker's Dozen. But moving on to it, 525,600 damage, a 13 round mag for base. I don't have an extended mag for rifles, unfortunately. 180 RPM. It was like 203, I believe. But the reason why I went down was because I swapped off the 4% rate of fire, which is the last attribute, and I swapped it to 5% damage to armor. I was doing a little bit of testing with the max roll for just damage to enemies out of cover, but it didn't seem like it was doing that much damage, and it wasn't really worth it compared to using just straight up raw damage to armor, which is super helpful, especially when you're running challenging or really anything heroic. Anything over challenging, you're going to see a huge difference with that damage to armor. And then we have 12% damage for the rifle category, and then we also have the max roll at 17% for crit hit damage. I'm almost positive that every time you get anything from the Shea Tech levels, they typically roll with pretty good attributes, like decently above average rolls. My rifle damage wasn't maxed at 15%, but 12% will do, especially since it's only 3% off the max. And then moving on to the talent for this weapon, which is called Perfect Lucky Shot. Magazine capacity is increased by 30%. Missed shots from cover have a 100% chance to return to the magazine. So for me, like I always say, I play on console, and for some odd reason on this game, I'm not very good with snipers, and I'm not really good at rifles either. This has just always been a thing on Division only. In any other FPS, I'm pretty good with snipers or anything that's single shot. But for some reason, I suck with rifles on this game, and this helps me a lot because I miss a lot of shots, and for some odd reason also, the enemies just never peek, and they are always running from cover to cover and never really standing still for you. So for this weapon, the talent is super helpful because if you miss a shot, it doesn't come out of your mag. The bullets only count if you hit an enemy or if you hit something like a turret or something like a skill or something like that. If you hit a skill or you hit an enemy, obviously, and deal damage, then it's going to count toward the magazine. If you just completely whiff and miss something, that it's not going to count and it's not going to take it out of the mag. Next, moving on to the secondary weapon, we have the Carnage, which is a named high-end LMG. 76.1k damage, 850 RPM, and a 135 round mag. I have a 35 round mag on it, so that's the reason why it's at 135. For our core attributes, we have 11% damage for LMG, 12% damage to target out of cover, which is maxed, and we have another max roll at 6% damage to armor that I recaled. And obviously, since this is a named weapon, you can't change the talent, which deals a 25% weapon damage bonus to bleeding enemies. It's not really that useful for me because I don't really have a lot of stuff that makes enemy bleeds, but I guess it is what it is, and it already had a really good roll for the LMG damage as well as the max roll for damage out of cover. And also, you guys will see here in a couple of minutes in the build as to why I'm running an LMG, because it does go with something that I'm running on the build. So moving on to the mask, we're running the Coyote's Exotic Mask. For the core attribute, we have a max roll at 15% weapon damage. For the secondary attributes, we have 4.1% crit hit chance, 11.9% crit hit damage, and for the mod, we threw on a 10.7% crit hit damage. For the talent, it's something called Pack Instincts. You and all allies gain a bonus based on the distance of the last enemy you hit. Now, the main thing that I want to talk about is the 25 meters plus. You gain 25% additional critical hit chance, and that's important because I'll show you guys at the end of the video my stats and pretty much what it'll be with the added on 25% critical hit chance bonus. Next, moving on to the vest, we're running a Providence Defense vest that has 15% weapon damage, 10.5% crit hit damage, 4% crit hit chance, and a mod with 4.5% crit hit chance. Now the talent is Intimidate, which is, well, you have bonus armor, amplifies total weapon damage by 35% to enemies that are within a 10-meter distance. But the problem is I was running this with Bloodsucker on a old backpack that I had, old Providence backpack that had Bloodsucker on it, but I swapped that out for a different backpack, so I need to find a new vest or put my old backpack on to kind of accommodate both the talents and flow together. But right now, this talent is practically worthless, and the only reason why I'm running this vest is because it has 4 reds and also has max weapon damage, and I haven't really found a vest that's even been closer, or even close as good as one that I'm running right now in this build. For the holster, we're running a Overlord holster at 12.2% weapon damage, 4.7% crit hit chance, and 10.5% crit hit damage. This is really one of the only Overlord holsters just in general that I've ever gotten. I've been farming Overlord for the past couple days now, and I haven't gotten even a single holster for Overlord. I've been getting a lot of backpacks for Overlord that have absolute god tier rolls on it, but holsters, for some reason, I don't know what it is, just haven't found anything that's better than this one. Not that this one's bad, but I can definitely get a lot better stats than this one. Moving on to the backpack, we're running a Providence Defense backpack with 15% weapon damage, 3.5% crit hit chance, 10.8% crit hit damage, and a extra mod that we threw on there with 3.9% crit hit chance. Now, moving on to the talents, I am using Versatile, and there's really only 2 parts of this actual talent that we're going to be focusing on, and that is the 35% to enemies further than 25 meters for rifles and marksman rifles, hence we're using a rifle. And then the other one is the one right below it at 10% to enemies between 15 and 25 meters for LMGs and assault rifles. And also, if you guys didn't know what this talent does, it amplifies total weapon damage for 10 seconds when swapping between your primary and secondary weapons if they are different. And in our case, they are different because we're running a rifle for a primary weapon, and our secondary weapon is obviously going to be a LMG. So moving on to the gloves for the build now. These gloves are actually super important for the build for a couple of reasons, actually. Like I said earlier in the video, there's a reason why I'm actually running a LMG, and it comes into effect with these gloves specifically. Now, these are Petrov Defense gloves, but they're also named. They're called the Contractor's gloves, and the reason why they're named is because of the attribute that is glowing gold that you guys see on the bottom, which is damage to armor, 11% damage to armor. You guys might not think that's impactful, or you might not think it's that good, but when you add that 11% damage to armor with both of my weapons have damage to armor. My primary weapon, my rifle, has 5%, and my LMG has 6%. So just from these 2 small things alone with the weapon and 1 piece of gear, I'm already at 17 and 16% bonus damage to armor just from a weapon and a piece of gear. This is the only pair of gloves that you can get damage to armor on. Since they are named, you can't extract them, you can't put them on anything else, you can't transfer them, you can't do anything with them. And for me personally on this build, this is very crucial. Damage to armor is super important, and I don't think there's really anything that can replace these gloves that would make my build any better in my personal opinion. And last but not least, moving on to the knee pads, we have the Providence Defense knee pads with 13.3% weapon damage and 6.4% headshot damage. Now, before I go any farther, I'm sure there's going to be at least minimum 1 comment that says I should be using the named high-end knee pads that give you 15% bonus damage to targets out of cover. I believe that's what it is. I'm not sure what they're called, but there's actually a couple problems with that. One, I obviously don't have them, and I know that they were selling them in the clan vendor, I believe, and they were like absolute god roll, like they were perfect, but I'm not in a clan. I play solo for the most part, so there's practically no way of me getting those. And also, I don't really even know if they're in the like loot pool to be able to get them just from random drops from bosses or anything like that. I've been playing a lot. I actually spent 1 whole day just completely farming knee pads too, just to see if I could get them, and I still didn't get them. If any of you guys have gotten the named knee pads, let me know if you have, just so I know that there's even a possibility or a chance to be able to get them. Because obviously I had no way of getting them from the clan vendor. But if you guys were wondering why I'm not running those knee pads, that's the reason why I'm running these Providence Defense knee pads. So most importantly, the stats. I'm sure some of you guys were wondering what the stats on this build look like. Now, just keep in mind, also for crit hit chance, it caps at 60%, and you guys see that I have pretty much 45%, but remember that I am running the exotic Coyotes mask, and with this build, you guys can see that I don't even have 700,000 armor, which is very, very, very low, but I do have really high damage because everything's spec'd into red and just raw damage for the most part. And with this build, I'm trying to keep my distance between each enemy as far as I can possibly go, and with the exotic Coyotes mask, the buff is 25% for the max if you're at 25 meters or more, which means that I'm always going to be at that for the most part. Probably 80 to 90% of the time, I'm going to be 25 meters plus away from every enemy for the most part, which means that I'm going to be getting the 25% crit hit chance buff, which is going to put me well over 60%, which is the max. Moving to crit hit damage is at 111.4%, which is very, very good. My headshot damage is 91.4, but the reason why it's not 100 or even higher than that, I could easily get it to over 120%. But I don't like using any like variable scopes or anything that you have to like scope in with. I just put like a Russian red dot on it, and that's it. I don't like having to have like an actual real scope like on a sniper on this gun at all. It's probably because I play on console and not PC. It's just a personal preference for me. That's why you guys don't really ever see me use snipers either, because I'm absolute just trash with it for the most part. If I was on PC, maybe I might stand a chance, but it's just personal preference. Also, just wanted to quickly throw this in there. For the specialization, I use the sharpshooter, and then for my skills, I use the turret. Not gonna lie, kind of shreds. And then for my second one, I use the hive, which revives you. 100% absolute must. There's nothing worse, absolutely nothing worse than getting through pretty much the entire mission for heroics, only to end up dying. And everyone knows you can't respawn in heroic missions. You have to start all the way from the beginning again. I learned the hard way. Don't be like me. Just put a revive hive on. It's absolute must. It'll be tragic if you guys do what I do and go to the end of the mission and die and have to restart, and then pretty much rage and you're just done for the day. So don't do what I do. Just run a revive hive. I promise you guys it'll be worth it. But guys, that is going to about do it for the video today. Also, I didn't throw any gameplay of this build in the video because it would have been super long. So if you guys want me to just dedicate a separate video, just like 15 to 16 minutes of just raw gameplay with no audio for me, just straight up raw audio from the game of me running through a legendary mission or heroic mission really quick in like 10 to 15 minutes, I can do that too. But I've been practically streaming with this build all day, every single day, so I know some of you guys have been stopping in and I've seen this build video or this build already before the video came out, so it doesn't really matter to me. If you guys want me to make a video and just upload it of 15 minutes of me just running through it, let me know. I can do that pretty easy. But yeah, hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys did, make sure you guys drop a like on it. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more Division 2 content, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Other than that, guys, thanks for watching. Peace out.